Hello, everybody. This is Ted. I'm going to be talking with you about the ControlM version 8 upgrade. Let's pop over to our agenda here. I'm going to dive right in and start talking about first what's new with the ControlM version 8 upgrade, and then go into a demonstration of the Enterprise Manager upgrade, followed by a demonstration of the server upgrade, after which my buddy Rick is going to summarize what we've done and discuss some tips for upgrades and give you some additional information. I'd like to remind you that you can use the Q&A panel, please, for any questions that you may have during the presentation. We'll be following up after the presentation, answering your questions, both on the line and through the WebEx itself. So in terms of what's new with version 8, several changes. First off, the export from the Enterprise Manager no longer requires that the Enterprise Manager components be shut down for the export to be performed. This gives you some opportunity to do some additional testing and such without outages. Your archive viewpoints will be carried over from your Enterprise Manager version 7 to version 8. This is something that's new with version 8. The upgrade software, both the export and the import, are now installed with the ControlM version 8. There is no longer a need to download what we used to call the migration toolkit from the FTP as a separate package. You have the upgrade export pack installed with the ControlM that you'll be copying over to your old source environment. And lastly, the user interface has been improved, so now that there is additional functionality in the EM configuration manager to do the ControlM server promotion. Moving forward, I'd like to give you a brief overview of what we're going to be doing for the upgrade itself. You can break it down into 6 fairly concise steps. First, to copy the upgrade export pack, again, which is installed with the base release of version 8, to the source environment. To install that upgrade export pack on the source. To use it to validate your source data to make sure that there aren't any data consistency problems or any rule violations that will cause problems with the version 8. After the validation has succeeded, we're going to export the source data using the upgrade export pack. After we've exported the data, we're going to copy it to the destination, our version 8, and then once it's there, we're going to import it. That being said, I'd like to jump over to my machine here. I am using Linux hosts here, but the process is essentially the same whether you're doing this on a Windows machine or another flavor of Unix. And there we are. You'll see, note that the steps are conveniently color-coded here. I have my version 8 in green below, version 7 in red above. That'll help you maintain some distinction there. So we're going to go to the EM upgrade, since this is what you'll be performing first in a ControlM upgrade. We can take it from version 6.3, 6.4, 7.0 from any supported database to a version 8 with the supported database. In this case, we're going 7 to 8, Postgres to Postgres, for simplicity's sake, more or less. Step number 1, we're going to copy the upgrade export pack from the destination to the source. I've changed directory to the upgrade export directory, and you can see here the upgrade or install upgrade file. This is the Unix file. The exe file is the Windows file. Since we're, again, using Linux, I'm going to use SCP to copy over the upgrade export pack to the version 7, where I was such skillfully denied because I mistyped the password. and the copy has been completed. I'm going to jump over to our version 7 machine and proceed with step number 2, which is to install the upgrade export pack. I copied it to the temp directory, so that's where I'm going to run it. Here, we'll note a simple message saying that the upgrade export pack has already been installed. This isn't to worry. When we install it, if it does already exist, the previous version of the upgrade export, which may include any exported data, will be renamed to .previous, and the new upgrade export pack placed in its location. Okay, we've done step number 2. We're now going to proceed to step number 3, which is to validate the data. I'm going to change directory to the upgrade export directory, where it's been installed, and run the upgrade script. The upgrade script presents us with a menu here with several options. We're going to select option number 1 to validate our data. We're prompted for the DBO user and password, and the validation is performed. We can see here the summary. We're told that our data is ready for upgrade, but just because we can, we're going to select option number 2, which you can use at a later time as well to view the readiness report. Here, you'll note there may be warnings or errors. You'll have to address those before the export to ensure that the export and import succeed. We have 0 messages here, no errors or warnings, so we're going to proceed with the export. I'm going to select option number 3. I'm going to be prompted again for the passwords, and the export will be performed. Now, here there are a couple of prompts during the export. The first is regarding the forecast job history. The default here is no, for a good reason, because essentially you're not gaining much of any value for exporting this. It's more or less going to simply increase the size of your exported data. The forecast will use existing data to do accurate projections. The second prompt we get here is for our archive viewpoints. This is called the job history data, and we're on version 7, so we're going to export this. I'm going to select yes, and we're prompted next for the number of days. Defaults to 4. I'm just going to accept that default. And the upgrade export has completed. Here, you'll note again, a basic summary. Our export has ended successfully. Pay particular attention to this. If you don't get an ended successfully message, you will be prompted with the location of additional logs and such, which will show you or show us, when you send it to us, what actually happened if there were problems. So we have finished step number 4. I'm going to move to step number 5, which is to copy the upgraded or the export to the destination environment. Again, here you were told where the file was placed. I'm going to use SCP to copy this the exported data to the version 8 environment. Okay, it has been copied. Now back on the version 8, we're going to step number 6, which is to import the data. I'm going to change directory to the upgrade import directory, where here we have the import tool. I'm going to run this. I'm asked for the usernames and passwords. It found the export file where it expected it, and we're given a brief summary of the exported data, where it came from, and the date. We're going to answer yes to proceed with the import. The Enterprise Manager is down on the version 8. It will need to be down. And then it'll run through what may be familiar to some of you as what looks like the util export. And then it's going to do a little additional work on the database to finalize it. And here, again, similar to the export, you're given a summary of the import. And here we have The import procedure has ended successfully. Again, pay particular note of this, as if it did not end successfully, you will receive some note of that and location of any related log files related to the failure. So that is essentially the ControlM Enterprise Manager upgrade. Fairly straightforward. We're going to move to now the ControlM Server upgrade. And this will follow our same 6 basic steps. The tool is very similar, and again, the same requirements in terms of 6.3, 6.4, 7.0 to 8.0. We're going to start with step number 1, to copy the upgrade export pack to the source. This is located in the ControlM Server upgrade export directory. And we're going to copy this to the version 7. And that was done with SCP. It's completed. Done with step number 1. We're going to move to step number 2, which is to install the upgrade export pack. And very similar to the Enterprise Manager, I had a previous upgrade export pack installed here. So when we complete the install again, it's noted that the previous upgrade export pack was detected and moved to the .previous directory, and the installation of the upgrade pack was successful. We're done with step number 2, so we're going to move to step number 3. I'm changing directory to the upgrade export directory, where we have the upgrade tool. And very similar to the Enterprise Manager, we're presented with a menu. And for step number 3, we're going to perform the validation. And here, we're again presented when we run it with the validation summary. No errors, no warnings, no informational messages, and we're given the name of the file. We're going to jump back to the menu and do a number 2 to view the readiness report, which is essentially what we just saw. But you can view the report through the upgrade tool at a later time if you forgot the location of it or what have you. So we have validated our source data. We're now going to proceed with the export. Okay, here we go. Now, our ControlM server is running here. So we're running ControlM server in the active environment. Because we're running the ControlM server, we're presented with this prompt, which will allow you to add the destination, our new ControlM server's server name, to the authorized server list of any currently available agent if they're running version 6.4 Fixpack 4 or above. If the ControlM server was not running, you would not get this prompt. If you answered yes here, the next prompt will be for the name of the server, and then it will send that information out to the agents and get those updated. I'm going to answer no to this prompt. Now, we're exporting now what we refer to as the the log and definition data. So this is more or less the static data. Since the ControlM server is running, in order to export the runtime data, we're prompted to shut down the ControlM server. And since we're doing the full upgrade right now, we are going to shut down the ControlM server so the export can proceed with exporting the runtime environment. Now, if we answered no to that prompt, the export would essentially stop there. You'd have an export of your log and definition data, and at a later time, you could run the upgrade tool. It would recognize that you've already exported the log and definition data and present you with a prompt to either resume the export and export the runtime data at that time, and you can use the combination of your previous export with that runtime data that you just exported, or if you choose to, you can perform the full export, which in either case, for that second part, you'll have to shut down the ControlM server. So again, with the export, we're presented with a summary. It has completed. It has ended successfully. We're given the location of our file, and we are done with step number 4. Step number 5 is going to be to copy this file to a location that's accessible by the destination environment. So I'm going to run our SCP again to copy it from the version 7 to version 8. It's not wanting me to do it without that. I'm going to copy this to the import directory on the version 8, ControlM server upgrade import for convenience. Okay, so we have completed up to step number 5 now. Step number 6, we go over to the version 8 environment, and we'll start the import. So we're first going to change directory to the ControlM server upgrade import directory, and you'll notice this is where we've placed our file from the source, and we are now going to run the upgrade tool. Okay. Now here we're given the option of automatic or manual upgrade. Since we're basically doing all of these steps by hand ourselves, we're doing the manual upgrade now. The automatic upgrade is actually when those steps 1 through 5 are performed for us from the ControlM destination, from our version 8 environment. It will remotely copy and execute all of those things that we've just done by hand. So I'm going to select 2 for our manual upgrade, and then number 1 for import. And our ControlM server is stopped now, so we're good for the import, and I have to put in the full path for the ControlM upgrade that I copied over, and it is up here. Ideally, you'd write this down and type slowly when you're doing your upgrades, because you don't want to type typo stuff. Get in trouble. Okay. Now, our upgrade is proceeding. If the ControlM server was up, you'd be prompted to bring it down at that point. You're presented with a summary of where the upgrade export came for, similar to the Enterprise Manager. That has since scrolled off the screen, unfortunately, but you're told from what machine the export was performed and the date and time. And then, just like the other upgrade exports and imports, we're presented with an upgrade process summary. Here we can see all the details and the most important message: upgrade completed successfully. If it hadn't, we would have again been given some detail in terms of the failure. Well, that concludes our demonstration for now, and I'd like to hand it over to Rick to discuss, to give us a brief summary of what we've done and to give you a little more detail in terms of version 8 and the upgrade.
Hi, yes, my name is Rick Hansen. I work in ControlM support with Ted. I'm Ted's buddy. And so I just wanted to review the process that Ted just went through. As you can see here on the screen, this is an overview, a summary of the process that we went through. Remember that you need to go through this process for both first the EM, and then you do this process for the ControlM server. The source is our previous or old environment, and the destination is our new environment. The steps are to install the upgrade export pack first. Then you validate the data to make sure it's consistent and ready. You export the data to a file, transfer the file to your new environment, and import on the new environment. In version 8, one of the things that's new is that we are, as Ted mentioned, we are distributing the upgrade toolkit for both the Enterprise Manager and the ControlM server. There is no longer a need to go to the FTP server to download the migration toolkit or this upgrade toolkit. The upgrade, all of the upgrade software is delivered when you install EM version 8 for the EM and ControlM server version 8 for the ControlM server. The upgrade toolkit has an export and import direct subdirectories, and that export directory is where you will then find the export pack that you needed to copy to your old environment in order to perform the export of your previous source environment. This upgrade toolkit is maintained as you install fix packs. So when you install your version 8 environment, you'll want to also install the latest fix pack so that you have the latest version of the upgrade toolkit. In version 8, we changed some of the terminology that I'd like to go through. Previously, the process was called migration. In version 8, that process is now called upgrade. Just to note that this is not an upgrade in place where you are upgrading the software in the same directory. Our upgrade is still a process where you will be installing the new version into a new location and using the upgrade toolkit to copy your data from the old location to the new location. In the documentation, you'll see that the old or previous version is called the source environment, and the new version, or the new version 8 environment, is called the destination environment. Additionally, as we said, it's called the upgrade toolkit instead of the migration toolkit. And then also the one piece of software that you need to copy to your source or old environment is called the upgrade export pack. Additionally, as a final step to your upgrade process, there is, after you've upgraded your EM, and then to version 8, and also after you've upgraded your ControlM server to version 8, you will need to synchronize the definitions that are in your EM environment for that ControlM server so that the definitions in the EM database are upgraded from the old version to the new version, version 8. That process we used to call the migrate DC process, and that used to be a command line process. Now in version 8, you still are required to do this, but that process is now called the promote ControlM. We've moved that process into the CCM so that you can see here that if you right-click, if you have this ControlM server where you have upgraded now this ControlM server from a previous version to version 8, you'll be able to right-click on that ControlM server, and you'll see that there's a promote ControlM action available to you. If you select that action, you'll then get this dialog that'll show you that you can then check the promote ControlM action, and you'll set it to version 8. You'll designate what host and port it is that it's running on, and then you'll select the OK button. When you select OK, that will then tell the EM server to go to the EM database and upgrade that ControlM server from whatever previous version it was to now so that those job definitions are a version 8 job definition. This is what was similarly done when you did the migration, the upgrade of the ControlM server environment. This process is a required step. Some people will skip this step by just deleting this ControlM server component and recreating it as a version 8 component. But you don't want to do that because that will have bypassed the upgrading of the job definitions in the EM database from the previous version to the version 8. So instead of just manually deleting this component now, what you'll want to do is after you've upgraded your ControlM server to version 8 and before you bring up your gateway, you'll want to go to this ControlM server, right-click, and do the promote ControlM. That will upgrade the definitions, and it will change this ControlM server component to be a version 8 component, which is what you needed. Finally, I thought it'd be helpful to go through a couple of tips for a successful upgrade. The most important thing is that you are now able to go through the whole process from end to end, from the export to the import and testing in your new environment, without having to bring down your current production environment. In version 7, you were already able to export your ControlM server, at least as Ted referred to as the log and the data portions of that, the static portions of that, while the ControlM server is running. That's a perfectly valid test. You can use that export to move to your new environment and import that. That will make sure that you don't have any problems with your export-import of that data. You'll be able to time your export-import times, and you'll also be able to see what your data, your actual production data looks like in your new environment, and run some test scenarios. Now in version 8, we have allowed that for the EM as well. So for both EM and ControlEm server, you're able to go to end-to-end without bringing down your production environment and test everything out. This will allow you to have done this before your actual cutover date so that you'll see what the process looks like. As well, the upgrade process is designed to be able to run multiple times. So the import process will take care of replacing the data in the new environment if you do run it multiple times. Additionally, I wanted to highlight what we call an installation bucket. This is a knowledge article that you can access on our website that contains all the latest information for the version 8 installation. So this would be after reading the installation guide, you can refer to this knowledge article with any additional. It'll have a list of any additional knowledge articles about any gotchas or new information regarding the version 8 installation. Similarly, or likewise, for the upgrade process, we also have 2 knowledge articles, one for the EM and one for the server, with any of the same last-minute information regarding the upgrade process and the upgrade toolkit and any gotchas or things you need to know about for that. Finally, I wanted to highlight our Amigo process. This has been a very successful process. The Amigo process is a planning process which helps you plan your upgrade steps, your upgrade project. This is not a service that we offer where we actually do the upgrade for you, or where we are on the phone with you, or keep this issue open the whole time. But rather, this is just a planning process. So when you decide that you're considering upgrading, you can open up an issue with support. Just include Amigo in the subject and any little bit of information about what you're doing. We'll contact you. We'll send you the information about the Amigo program, and we'll send you the documents that we have about the steps for your upgrade. And then we'll help you to create that initial plan that you need to get headed in the right direction. We'll close out that issue, and then you can continue to execute your plan. If you have any issues, you can just open up new regular support issues. And then once you get to a week or 2 out from your actual cutover date, you can contact us a second time with an Amigo issue, and we will review your final plan, your final environment, make sure there's not any last-minute information you need to know regarding your upgrade process. For version 8, we have our Fix Pack 1 will be delivered in the May-June timeframe. We have an additional enhancement for the upgrade process, which is the Rename Data Center feature. That is similar to the Promote ControlM. In the CCM, we will be adding a rename action so that you can rename your data center from some old name to a new name. Typically, if your data center was called the host name and you have moved your host to a different host name, you can then be able to use this rename data center to right-click and rename that data center from the old host name to the new host name. Additionally, we have a couple of new enhancements that aren't upgrade-related, but they're very significant improvements to both the new day and the download performance. You should be receiving a survey regarding this presentation, and we want to hear your feedback on how we did. And additionally, we want to get your ideas about any topics that you'd like to hear for any of our future Connect with ControlEms. Our next Connect with ControlEm is on March 13th. It's going to be on our CM for Databases application plugin, which is very popular and very useful, and Daryl Watley is going to be presenting that. If you want to send this presentation, this webinar, to someone to listen to, or you want to review it, or if you want to see some of our old Connect with ControlEm webinars, those are available on our website using that URL there. And finally, you can additionally follow us on both Twitter and Facebook.